I'd like to talk about the basic problem of sitting. Whether you've been sitting a short time or for 10 years, the problem is always the same. When I went to my first session many years ago, I couldn't decide who was crazier, me or the people sitting around me. It was terrible. The temperature was almost 105 degrees every day of the week. I was covered with flies, and it was a noisy, bellowing session. I was completely upset and baffled by the whole thing. But once in a while, I'd go in to see Yasutani Rashi, and there I saw something that kept me sitting. Unfortunately, the first 6 months or year of sitting are the hard ones. You have to face confusion, doubts, problems, and you haven't been sitting long enough to feel the real rewards. But the difficulty is natural, even good. As your mind slowly goes through all of these things, as you sit here, confusing and ridiculous as it may seem, you're learning a tremendous amount about yourself. And this can only be of value to you. Please continue to sit with a group as often as you can and see a good teacher as often as you can. If you do that in time, this practice will be the best thing in your life. It doesn't matter what our practice is called, following the breath, shikantaza, koan study, basically, we're all working on the same issues. Who are we? What is our life? Where did we come from? Where do we go? It's essential to living a whole human life that we have some insight. So first, I'd like to talk about the basic task of sitting, and in talking about it, realize that talking is not it. Talking is just the finger pointing at the moon. In sitting, we are uncovering reality, Buddha nature, God, true nature. Some call it big mind. Words for it that are particularly apt for the way I want to approach the problem tonight are this very moment. The Diamond Sutra says, the past is ungraspable, the present is ungraspable, the future is ungraspable. So all of us in this room, where are we? Are we in the past? No. Are we in the future? No. Are we in the present? No, we can't even say we're in the present. There's nothing we can point to and say, this is the present, no boundary lines that define the present. All we can say is, we are this very moment. And because there's no way of measuring it, defining it, pinning it down, even seeing what it is, it's immeasurable, boundless, infinite. It's what we are. Now, if it's as simple as that, what are we all doing here? I can say, this very moment. That sounds easy, doesn't it? Actually, it's not. To really see it is not so easy, or we wouldn't all be doing this. Why isn't it easy? Why can't we see it? And what is necessary so that we can see it? Let me tell you a little story. Many years ago, I was a piano major at Oberlin Conservatory. I was a very good student, not outstanding, but very good. And I very much wanted to study with one teacher who was undoubtedly the best. He'd take ordinary students and turn them into fabulous pianists. Finally, I got my chance to study with the teacher. When I went in for my lesson, I found that he taught with 2 pianos. He didn't even say hello. He just sat down at his piano and played 5 notes, and then he said, "You do it." I was supposed to play it just the way he played it. I played it, and he said, "No." He played it again, and I played it again. Again he said, "No." Well, we had an hour of that. And each time he said, "No." In the next 3 months, I played about 3 measures, perhaps half a minute of music. Now I had thought I was pretty good. I'd played soloist with little symphony orchestras. Yet we did this for 3 months, and I cried most of those 3 months. He had all the marks of a real teacher, that tremendous drive and determination to make the students see. That's why he was so good. And at the end of 3 months, one day he said, "Good." What had happened? Finally, I had learned to listen. And as he said, if you can hear it, you can play it. What had happened in those 3 months? I had the same set of ears I started with. Nothing had happened to my ears. What I was playing was not technically difficult. What had happened was that I had learned to listen for the first time, and I'd been playing the piano for many years. I learned to pay attention. That was why he was such a great teacher. He taught his students to pay attention. After working with him, they really heard, they really listened. When you can hear it, you can play it. And finished, beautiful pianists would finally come out of his studio. It's that kind of attention which is necessary for our Zen practice. We call it samadhi, this total oneness with the object. But in my story, that attention was relatively easy. It was with an object that I liked. This is the oneness of any great art, the great athlete, the person who passes well on the football field, the person who does well on the basketball court, anybody like that who has to learn to pay attention. It's that kind of samadhi. Now that's one kind and it's valuable. But what we have to do in Zen practice is much harder. We have to pay attention to this very moment, the totality of what is happening right now. And the reason we don't want to pay attention is because it's not always pleasant. It doesn't suit us. As human beings, we have a mind that can think. We remember what has been painful. We constantly dream about the future, about the nice things we're going to have or are going to happen to us. So we filter anything happening in the present through all that. I don't like that. I don't have to listen to that. And I can even forget about it and start dreaming of what's going to happen. This goes on constantly, spinning, 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 always trying to create life in a way that will be pleasant, that would make us safe and secure, so we feel good. But when we do that, we never see this right here now, this very moment. We can't see it because we're filtering. What's coming in is something quite different. Just ask any 10 people who read this book. You'll find they all tell you something different. They'll forget the parts that don't quite catch them, they'll pick up something else, and they'll even block out the parts they don't like. Even when we go to our Zen teacher, we hear only what we want to hear. Being open to a teacher means not just hearing what you want to hear, but hearing the whole thing. And the teacher's not there simply to be nice to you. So the crux of Zazen is this. All we must do is constantly to create a little shift from the spinning world we've got in our heads to right here now. That's our practice. The intensity and ability to be right here now is what we have to develop. We have to be able to develop the ability to say, no, I won't spin off up here, to make that choice. Moment by moment, our practice is like a choice, a fork in the road. We can go this way, we can go that way. It's always a choice, moment by moment, between our nice world that we want to set up in our heads and what really is. And what really is at a Zen session is often fatigue, boredom, and pain in our legs. What we learn from having to sit quietly with that discomfort is so valuable that if it didn't exist, it should. When you're in pain, you can't spin off. You have to stay with it. There's no place to go. So pain is really valuable. Our Zen training is designed to enable us to live comfortable lives. But the only people who live comfortably are those who learn not to dream their lives away, but to be with what's right here now, no matter what it is. Good, bad, nice, not nice, headache, being ill, being happy. It doesn't make any difference. One mark of a mature Zen student is a sense of groundedness. When you meet one, you sense it. There with life as it's really happening, not as a fantasy version of it. And of course, the storms of life eventually hit them more lightly. If we can accept things just the way they are, we're not going to be greatly upset by anything. And if we do become upset, it's over more quickly.